All right. Well, we got Max Rosenberg here with me today. Max, for those who don't know, is a great friend of mine from college and post-college. And we actually had Max on the podcast a little bit ago, and it was a really great conversation with you, Max. Obviously, we talk all the time outside of that, but I really appreciated some of the value you shared about some of the things that you learned about running. It was good to have some of those conversations and answer some of your questions as, at the time you were a beginner runner. And, now obviously you've been doing some more running, and I know you had some more questions you wanted to talk to me about. For those who don't know, Max is actually now living in Israel, which is really, really cool having that running experience there. So went from doing a 10K with him in Columbus to now I believe you're going to be looking at training for another race here soon, I believe. And so yeah, Max, turn it over to you. Feel free, we can just jump into any questions you have about your training. I know ultimately you seem like you want like a structured plan, which I'm more than happy to build for you based on your full situation there and what's realistic and what's going to be, allow you to be consistent with the plan and stick to it and everything like that. But here for the help. So go right ahead with any questions you have.
Thanks for having me on, Sam.
Of course.
So yeah, these questions are really geared towards now that when we made that previous plan, that was in preparation for that race. Now I want to set up a new plan for an upcoming race in February. It's
Mhm.
called the Yarko Park Marathon. It's literally 2 streets down for me, and I'm kind of right now. So the first question is, which we can start things off with, is now that I've ran a 10K, I've done a 5K, a 10K. This race coming up, you can either do a full marathon, obviously out, a half marathon, a 10K, and a 5K. So between the half marathon, 10K, and 5K, 5K is obviously out too. It's really a 10K and half marathon. I'm debating which would be best. I know that there's probably a preference, but I cede to the professional.
Yeah, so I guess your question is, should you do a 10K or a half marathon for this next race? When is the race? In February, I believe you said, or?
February 10th.
Okay. Well, I mean, here's the thing. There's decide. That's the cool thing about races, right? There's a lot of races that oftentimes offer a variety of different distances, and it allows you to still be with a large community of runners, even if you're running one of the shorter races. But just because it's a shorter race doesn't mean it's not as big of an accomplishment or something that you should want to work hard on. Every race is special. I've trained harder for 5Ks than I've trained for a half marathon before and vice versa. It's all based on really what's important to you and what is realistic. I think for, more of time more than anything, because half marathon training, I know you've never done it, Max, but it definitely requires more time. But the runs are less intense. There's a lot more easy running associated. So, it's really a preference thing. I mean, I think with you did that one 10K, right? It could be cool to do another 10K in the sense that it allows you to really measure improvement because you already have that time. You already know what your body is capable of doing. And it could be a good experience to see how you can improve from that. Or on the other end, okay, you know that you could run a 10K. You probably know that you could run a little longer than that after that experience. And so to get something off your bucket list, such as a half marathon, could be a really cool opportunity for you, right? But I guess it leads me to the question. I mean, how much time in a given week? I know you're about to start a new job here and things like that. Are you really willing to commit to running? Because I think with the half, it's going to require a little bit more time commitment, not like crazy amount, but like maybe like another 1 to 2 hours of training a week for someone like you, I would say.
Yeah, the idea actually of trying to beat my first 10K time, I think makes a lot of sense because
Mm-hmm.
as long as I'm improving, I think that can lead me towards a half marathon maybe.
Yeah.
So as opposed to jumping the gun, uh, maybe I could. I did a minute. It was a minute. It was an hour and 5 minutes that I ran. Just it was 5 minutes and 52 seconds. So working to beat that, I think could be a big goal for coming up.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be really cool to see you for that 10K, like get under an hour. I think it's definitely possible. If you're in similar shape than you were for that 10K, or if we're able to get you there within the next couple of weeks, I think, by the time February comes, we could look at, improving your training, and that could be a goal, or, just a goal to PR, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be under an hour.
Yeah.
Any personal record is impressive, right? So it's up to you, man. I'm happy to help you with either direction, but if the 10K, if that's more exciting for you, that's great. If you want to get a half marathon off your bucket list, I'm happy to help you with that too.
When the time, maybe I'll give it a little bit of extra thought about what I want to do. I won't give you an answer right here.
Okay, keep me
I'll get
posted. Think about it. Obviously you don't have to decide this moment. Cool. Well, that sounds good. But what other
yeah,
questions can I answer regarding
yeah,
like the I mean, I'm excited to hear. Obviously, we got a race lined up. I think either way, you probably have some general running questions we can help out with here.
that I do. What so now that I know that you're you and your people back in the laboratory are gonna work on a running plan for me, but in the meantime, I noticed that my biggest issue is it's not consistency. I'm able to get out there every day and run with consistency. It's kind of now about durability and stamina and being able to do prolonged runs, running on days when my legs kind of hurt. It's I'm noticing it's no longer about I used to find the hardest part was getting out there. Now the issue's not getting out there. It's about kind of starting to lengthen those runs out a little bit more. And I know not every day you're supposed to run like a 5K or a 10K or more, but I definitely would like to start getting some more lengthy runs in to practice.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's going to be really helpful for you, and I think this has been, I've seen this from the coaching side, especially working with my roommate who's going to be doing a half marathon in Miami when I'm running the marathon. He was someone who really struggled with a lot of soreness, a lot of injuries, perhaps as well, when he would go and run. And his problem was when he would run, he was running very hard, more workouts than not. I mean, he would go out on a quote unquote easy run, but his pace was minutes faster than what it is now. And I had to really explain to him, man, like just because you're going out there and running doesn't mean you need to go home and feel dead tired after it. It's okay to come back and like feel like you have a lot left in the tank. Those runs are meant for recovery, active recovery though. Just because you're doing recovery doesn't mean you should be sitting and doing nothing. Active recovery, that's a concept. So I really believe in the easy runs and like don't compare yourself to other people with those easy runs. Just because I say an easy run for me is a 10-minute mile doesn't mean that that should be an easy run for you. If for you it's 13, 14, a 15-minute mile, that's completely fine. It's meant to be easy, conversational, something that you don't feel like you're putting a lot of pressure in. Your, resting heart rate is low compared to when you are physically exerting yourself through a hard workout. So that's for one, the easy runs. Two is a consistent, well-developed stretch routine, which I have a YouTube video for. You can check that out. I'm probably going to make a new one just because I make higher quality content than I used to walk people through the stretch routine again. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, it's really important. Like before a workout, like a hard workout, you want to make sure to do dynamic stretching, which is stretching where you're like essentially mobile with those movements. And then after the workout, you want to do static stretching where you're more holding those positions. I think also, doing like shin splint exercises are great. I have a YouTube video on that as well. I think, if you have access to it, using things like a sauna or going in an ice bath or even just taking a cold shower at a minimum is something you could definitely be doing. I mean, I know we've talked about this, but like nutrition is big. The easiest thing you could do with nutrition is just drinking a lot of water, right? And I mean, I know we had spoke about it in the past too. Like you had some issues with the heavy legs. That really comes down to making sure you're fueling with enough carbohydrates. I recommend once you start getting into your like longer runs, there's all these different carbohydrate supplements you can take prior to a run or in the middle of a run. You don't need a ton because you're not doing like a half marathon distance where that would require a little bit more. But at least like one serving of that before a run, I think could be really helpful for you. Besides that, sleep, that's huge. That's something I'm doing more of now. I mean, I think that's a given, right? We all know we got to sleep, but it's just a good reminder, especially on those days where you're doing longer runs or harder runs to make sure that you're getting enough sleep. And then the last thing really it comes down to also like doing some cross training. Just because you're running and training for a race, that doesn't mean the only thing you should be doing is running. I think it's important to walk as well, like when you can, to stay up on your feet to help loosen up a little bit and just like have some active, easy recovery going on. And then also, like, if you have access to a gym, doing some lightweight lifting, some abs, core work is great. And if you don't have access to a gym, doing something as simple as push-ups, 100 push-ups a night if you can. Not every night, but like maybe 2 days a week, or like 50 push-ups 3 days a week, whatever you
Yeah.
can do there. Like I think that would really help a lot. So does that help though? I know that's a lot of information, and the good thing is we have this recorded, so you can rewatch the advice too. So that'll be good.
No, that's great. Thank you. That all sounds good. Um, and yeah, I think you kind of covered what my one of my last questions was about, which was about nutrition. Because the heavy legs was a continued issue. I've really cut down on my meat intake,
Mhm.
and noticed it's resulted in a little bit of a drop off in the heavy leg department. But I do know that I need to continue to like find ways to get protein in. Um, and so I know that won't last, but I'm trying to just learn to live with less.
Yeah, and I mean on the meat topic, listen, I'm not a nutrition coach at the end of the day. I did like the plant-based diet for a little bit years ago. Now I honestly eat more meat than I did. I have really in like the last couple of years, but I think it's more just about making sure, regardless what you're eating, whether it's a lot of meat, a little meat, or somewhere in between, that the food in your diet are all like healthy food and that they're like high quality food. So like I'm eating a lot of beef right now, but I'm eating 100% grass-fed beef, and so like I think that definitely helps. I think there's like a lot of snacks out there that have a lot of like chemicals in it. I'm staying away from that stuff. Not drinking like the sugary Gatorades, but rather like low sugar, more natural electrolytes, things like that. I think can definitely help.
Absolutely. Cutting out diet soda was like the biggest, hardest thing I had to do. Now it's cutting out sweets, but one
Yeah.
step at a time.
One step at a time, man. And for me, like I've noticed an improvement in my training when I like keep the alcohol in moderation. I don't know how much you're drinking now, but like that definitely helps me. I know that's hard for a lot of people, but like, not saying to drink or not, but like, I know that the nights I have a lot of drinks and I wake up and I go on a run, like I'm gonna cramp. I'm not gonna feel good. The days where I have one or two, I'm gonna feel fine the next day when I go run. So it's a matter of though knowing yourself. And like what I think could really be helpful for you, Max, is like the days that you run and you feel great, like have like a little journal for yourself, right? And be like, I felt great. What did I do today? What was my morning routine like? What did I do the night before? What did I eat? What did I drink? How much did I sleep? Things like that could definitely help you, because then if you want to make sure you're feeling good on race day or on a hard workout or on a long run that you have set up for yourself, you just plug and play, right? You know the things that are going to help you and you just apply those. And if they don't work as well the next time, well, maybe there was something that worked and something that didn't. But that's playing the game, because what's going to work for me and you and someone else, it's always going to be different. But that's why, like, I think it's really important to be analytical and aware of yourself and what's working and what's not.
I try and keep runs as sober as possible, just because that's when I operate at my best as a runner. And yeah, with eating too, it's about. I've noticed it's a lot not as about what I eat before, because I can always like use the bathroom or like drink water and make my stomach feel okay enough to run. It's about like the after and recovery. Um, I really need to take special care of that with what I eat, how I treat my body. Um, so definitely looking seeing some progress with that.
Definitely, man. Cool. Well, any other questions? Anything else I can do to help, man?
Um, Shin Splints. What is? I know you're gonna put out. You said you'd look out for some content about Shin Splints, y'all.
Yeah, I have a Shin Splint YouTube video, so I think that's really the best thing that you can do. I did have these two girls on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and one did suffer from shin splints, and she said really the best thing that she did after suffering and to prevent it is like icing the shins, right? So like I talk about ice baths, I talk about cold showers, but like if the shin is the specific spot, then like ice the shin. And that's obviously like a lot less painful than being in a fully cold bath. And like you can do that for 15 minutes or whatever it is. Also, like, if you got like a Theragun or massage gun, those are really good, just for recovery and whatnot. I have one that's
Yeah.
probably $30. There's expensive ones, but like you don't need the crazy brand. I mean, there's a lot of like high-end tech stuff that they have with running. If you're a committed runner, like for the rest of your life, maybe invest some money in some of that stuff. But like you could probably get a cheap massage gun that'll just get you through for now. So I highly recommend looking into something like that too, if you're able to.
I'll go get one at the Shook.
Perfect. I love it.
Oh, but that's a good idea. Um, no, I think that's it. I know that we'll obviously chat some as the plan progresses, but thank you for being so diligent and helpful with this running.
Yeah, for sure, Max. And I mean, what I want you to do is like, first of all, decide whether you want to run the 10K or the half. When you decide
Okay.
that, take your time with that. Obviously, like just keep your like running within like a comfortable range until you decide that. But once you decide that, I'm more than happy to like make you that custom plan. Talk to me about like how many days a week you want to run and what the running scenery is like and what your specific goal is. So like if you're looking to do 10K and just a PR, great. If you want to just complete a half marathon, great. If you just want to run the race and feel good and comfortable and the time doesn't even matter, but you want to like just do it and like have fun with the race, that's okay too, man. It's your running journey. That's the great part about it. Do something that's going to allow you to feel as good about yourself as possible. I think that's really what is important. And obviously, hitting milestones, hitting goals, doing something you have never done before, that's I think where a lot of that happiness really starts kicking in. So yeah, but always great talking to you, man. As questions pop up, I'm just a DM away. Of course, you know that. We're always, keeping in touch. But I'll build something for you once you need it. And I appreciate you willing to talk about this, record it so we can share it with some people who might have the same questions you have.
Always, man. Thank you for having me on, but more importantly, thank you for showing me the way and getting me into being a running fanatic.
Love it. Love it. Don't forget to run Briar, Max.
Run Breiter. Talk later.